Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser, and we are modelling for advantage. Happy New Year, guys. Here we are, New Year's resolution time, where we make all kinds of commitments to ourselves, which almost none of us are ever going to keep. Myself, I intend to be slim, young, more beautiful, elegantly handsome, and generally quite kind to people. So as hobbyists, we tend to be talking about attacking the lead mountain, thinning out the pile of shame. I think a big one is buying more sensibly for me. We all buy things on impulse, and we all know that we shouldn't, and it's why the mound grows. Meanwhile, let's have a hear from Mr. James Workshop with his resolution.
Hi everyone, James Workshop here. So New Year's resolutions for this year. I think my key resolution for this year, as far as a hobby is concerned, is going to be that my least favourite part of the hobby, by far, I've mentioned it before, I'll probably mention it again, I really dislike painting. As you've seen on the channel, I do have a large collection of armies. I have painted a large variety of things this year. I've painted Bolt Action, I've painted Flames of War, I've painted Mortal Gods, plenty of. So I think I just need to reconsider how I think about painting. With the Mortal Gods and with the vehicles from Flames of War, I actually really enjoyed them. And I think the difference was that I had quite a simple colour scheme on those. So I think that this year, to improve my overall enjoyment of painting as part of the hobby, what I'm going to have to do is be more selective in what it is that I paint. So specific goals for this year. I'm going to lean into my Soviet tendencies. Shock horror, I'm sure you didn't hear that coming. And I'm going to be continuing to collect my Bolt Action. So Bolt Action, first I'll mention my Germans actually. So with the Germans, at the moment I am up to about 500-ish points, a little under 500 points. So I want to fix down a 500 point force that I want to use this year with a couple little additional options. I've picked up a Pounds of 4 specifically for that reason. It's probably a bit cheaty in this size of game, but you know, I want to build something fun. It's my secondary force anyway. With my Soviets, so I'm going to continue developing my Soviets. You've seen a little bit of them. I'm going to show them on screen again now, what I have at the moment. That's probably close to 500 points. So I want to develop about a 750 point force of Soviets for the 1941 Stalingrad era. Speaking of the Stalingrad era, my Flames of War forces are built massively this year. You'll see them on screen now. This is all just from this year. It's over 100 points, 120 to 150 points-ish of stuff that I have here. It's absolutely fantastic I've got them this far. So what I want to do is develop 75 points using some of the elements here of Bagration era forces in order to battle them against the Germans that are coming up in the book early this year. So that'll probably be one of my first projects this year. I've actually got it on the go already a little bit. So here you will see some Su-76s and some BA-64s that came out in the Bagration starter set, the plastics, that I am developing at the moment, just need finishing off. For other games that are non-World War II related, we have Mortal Gods. So Mortal Gods I want to continue playing, so I'm going to develop a Hades force on top of the Athenian force that I'm very happy with at the moment. So the Hades force, you'll see a little bit of the starting of it here. I want to get to 300 points of Hades, which will include a Hydra, a bunch of skeletons, and that fella from Jason and the Argonauts. It's really clearly him. For other games, I'm actually going to start a small Age of Sigmar force. Myself and a friend are going to get some start collecting boxes. I haven't picked anything up for it yet, but I will be collecting flesh-eater quartz. So my target for this year is to get to 1,500 points with a stretch of 2,000 points. I'd like to get to 2,000 points, but that's quite a big ask considering the other things that I have going on this year. So I'm going to aim for 1,500 points of Flesh Eater Quartz. You probably won't see them on the channel, as I said, but you may very well see them in a Warcry game at some point. So there's that. So that's some really specific targets I've set myself there, and quite a few of them. So I'll list them here next to myself right now. Here they are. I hope to get all of these done by January 1st. Next year. To keep track of all of these, I've set myself up with an Instagram account, which is James Workshop MFA. You might actually get a little bit ahead on things there, because I will be putting things up as soon as I finish painting them. So you may actually get some small sneak peeks of the future. So I hope you set yourself some targets. I hope that you're staying home where you can. I hope that you're staying safe where you can. I'll send you back to the Kaiser, and I'll see you later.
That is a lot of targets, but it is a whole year. But I think James has got a serious point there, and I think it's certainly a mistake that I've made over last year. On the channel, we have so many different armies. Painting to a list, I've always kind of painted what comes in the box, and then you find it's not just the buying and then the painting, there's then the storing as well. So really trying to be much more coordinated in what it is that I buy and that I build and that I paint, and that it's actually usable, so I use my time more effectively. So really good example of that sort of wasted effort on my part is these Soviets, which I don't think you've ever seen on the channel, and I'm not sure you ever will. I wasn't happy with the lack of variety of pulls in my old metal Soviets. I bought some bolt action ones, warlord ones, built them, painted them, based them. They're just about ready to go. But in the process of that happening, James Workshop's come along and said, you know, I'm going to do bolt action Soviets. Almost certainly, these guys are never going to see the table. So if I'd have been more coordinated in my effort, because I'm still not satisfied with all of my other bolt action armies either. I think one of the things that's going to happen over this year is going to go back to some of the armies that I use regularly and apply a little bit more paint, maybe a few more highlights, check out the basing, just try and spruce them up a little bit. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the Games Workshop stuff, starting off with my dear friend and principal co-host, Mr. Jonny B.
Happy New Year, guys. End of 2020, good bloody riddance. As we head into 2021, it's customary to make a New Year's resolution. A few of mine, because I do more than one, will be to roll more sixes, paint more Dubros. I'm going to focus on one specific aspect here, and that's my Ultramarines going forward into the 40k 9th edition that we play, which isn't that often, but hey ho. So here you go. Here they are. This is going to be the next addition to my Ultramarines force. Now, I keep hearing that Dreadnoughts are pretty nifty now. These haven't got the optimum weapons loadout, most probably, but since when have I ever followed that? But I love the idea of big stompy Dreadnoughts. 2 standard ones there, and this one will likely be a venerable, possibly, or just another standard. I don't know. And there you go. There's not really much paint on it. They've been primed like this forever. We'll see if there's any updates in the future. Thanks, guys. Back to you, Kaiser.
Jonny B could never be criticised for being over-ambitious. He's given himself an entire year in which to paint 3 models, and I will bet my house on the fact that he is not going to achieve it. From behind the camera, my wife is struggling to be quiet, cackling away. Next on the Games Workshop theme, though, is Clueless Mike. Check this.
Happy New Year, everybody. Clueless Mike here. Here's hoping that this new year is going to be a lot better than the previous one. So, New Year's hobby resolutions. As you can see, I paint a lot during the year anyway. I'm always painting my Blood Angels. I'm constantly kind of like churning out units. I've got a load of them built and undercoated under the bed, so I never really run out of those, and I'll continue to do those as I go through the year. But there's a few special pieces that I really definitely want to do this year. So what have we got? First off, we have my Mortarion. I'll bring him a bit closer. As you can see, he is partly painted already. I've actually fully finished the wings. I'm actually really quite pleased with them. Not the best of angles there, peeking over the top. I've got those done up to a nice level. I've got his armour all base coated, but I've really stalled. My wife bought this for me 3 Christmases ago, I'm sorry to say, and I love the model, but I think I'm intimidated by it is the thing. It's so big, so complex, I so want to do a brilliant job on it that I do a little bit and then I just put it aside. I'm going to get this done this year. I'm going to get this done in the next couple of months. There we go. That is first New Year's resolution. Now, one of the reasons I want to get that done is because I have a Forge World Sanguinius. I have put him together. I've magnetised various bits so I can kind of like magnetise the different weapon options onto him. I've made the wings pinned so I can remove and stick the wings on him. So he's at a ready to go level of painting, but I'm not painting him before I finish Mortarion. I made that kind of promise to myself. But I really want to paint him, so need to finish Mortarion for him. So they're the 2 main projects, 2 prime arcs to do for the year. If I get those done, then the last kind of little side project I want to do is I have... This guy is a Tempestor Prime, and I have 2 squads of Tempestor Scions, and they're the last units I need to paint to have a fully painted massive battalion of Imperial Guard. I need another couple of troop units, and that's them. So if I finish painting those, I've done all my Imperial Guard. I've got no more to paint. So that would be really nice to properly finish off a full army of more or less all the different units I could possibly take. So those are my New Year hobby resolutions. Let's see how I get on in a few months. God forbid, we'll see if Mortarion is painted by next Christmas. I really hope he is. And it is in my control, I suppose, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so the model count isn't high there from Clueless, Matt, but that's some beautiful models he's going to paint himself there. I understand where he's coming from, that business, about sometimes a model is just, you set yourself an expectation that you're going to do it to a really high standard, and it's a little bit paralysing. I think it's one of the things that we should think about and reflect upon ourselves in the goals that we set for ourselves. Is, are they realistic and are they achievable? Because I think we sometimes get a bit of hobby paralysis. We don't act because we feel we won't act decisively or successfully, and I think a lot of people are going to have beautiful models or kits that's never going to see paint on them because they don't quite feel as confident as they did when they made the purchase. What I would say is just get it out and have a go, and as much as this has taken Mike a long time to do, he will get there. I think sometimes put some paint on it and eventually it will be done. Just have that model to one side and crack on. Still on a Games Workshop theme, I mean, it's what the guys like, right? Here is Jimhotek with his plans for 2021.
Thanks, Kaiser. So I've got a little head start on this whole resolutions thing. I use an app called Trello to track my backlog, and with that I stage where everything is at, and then I know how close I am to finishing, what games I can start playing, and plan for the future. I also like to use Instagram as a way to track my progress and feel slightly more accountable for, you know, what I'm doing, not doing, that sort of thing. A bit like when Jonny B shows us his half-finished stuff and, you know, we put the pressure on. Come on, John, it's been 8 years, finish that team. So yeah, I'll show you a little bit of what Trello looks like. So this is what Trello looks like on the computer. You can access it via a web page or the app. You can also get an app on your phone, which is quite handy for on the go or when you're in the hobby room, don't want to pull up your laptop or whatever. And here you can see that I've got an Age of Sigmar one and a 40k one. So if we click on Age of Sigmar, you can see that I've got different categories, things that I'm planning to buy, things that I need to build, things that I have a colour scheme to sort out for, things that I need to paint, things that I need to base, the Grimdark step, and then the done pile. And you can drag and drop things, so I can take the Caradron Start Collecting box here or here. If I open it up, I can see that there's a few different tasks in there. You can label them, so if I click here, you'll see that I've set up a few different ones for other games, Warcry, Caradron, Chaos, Slaves to Darkness, and you can customize all of this. You could have completely different categories if you wanted to. You could have one that's how often you've played them. You could have one that is the last ones that you played, so you can cycle through and make sure no one's getting forgotten. Whilst I've had some time off from work, I've been concentrating on getting some of my backlog sorted. So there was a Gene Stealer cult vehicle that I just sat down and done start to finish basically, and I'm quite happy with that. And then I was like, you know what, I've got this Catacombs box, let's see if I can smash it out in the 2 weeks that I've got off work. So far this is my progress. So yeah, it's not too great, but I'm hoping with a little bit of luck and Amazon delivering and stuff, I might get it done. Next up, I got the Blood Bowl. So this was a Christmas gift, and I'm hoping to get them done in the new year. That's my first resolution. My second resolution is my 40k Knights. I bought these mostly sorted, pre-painted for a good price, but I kind of fancy changing them up a little bit. For some other hobby-related things, I'm planning to actually play Necromunda and Blood Bowl this year. Didn't manage it in 2020 because of all the COVID and that. But yeah, hopefully down at the club, get some games in, have a few laughs, learn some new games. Likewise, 40k Crusade, we had great plans for that, but 2020 ruined everything. One of the guys is moving away, so that probably won't happen in the same format, but maybe we can organise a day to get, you know, a little mini tournament set up with Crusade rules. That could be quite fun. And lastly, Kaiser's always on at me. You always just play GW games, come on, play something else, play something else, play something else. This year, maybe I'll try something else. I've got a few friends who play Frostgrave, and that seems quite fun, you know, thing to try out. Back to you, Kaiser.
always got a bit of Warhammer in him as Jimhotek. We're not seeing so much of Jim on the channel this year, unfortunately. I think the corona thing has meant I've been really limiting the number of people that I can interact with and how often. I'm really hoping to see more from him. In particular, though, he mentioned Frostgrave. Now, during the lockdown and these various tiers that we've been stuck in, John and I have been doing some stuff just basically over Google Hangouts or whatever, playing some games such as blurry pictures on the phone, and Frostgrave is one of them. My Orc Warband has played a couple of games. We'll hopefully, once we're able to sort of meet up again in person, play some games of Frostgrave. Now, I'm not going to say slick. John and I like to joke about the fact that we're getting pretty slick with the game when we feel that we don't spend half the time looking at the rulebook. I think slick is probably a strong word, but not complete floundering idiots. So as the year progresses, you will be seeing some Frostgrave on the channel too. That's for this year's resolutions. We got our dear friend and fellow YouTuber Brush and Quill and his plans and resolutions for 2021. Check.
Hi guys, Brush and Quill here. And it's all about resolutions today. So, apart from the usual, world peace, solve world hunger, etc., etc., looking at what we're doing within the gaming stuff. So, I don't really sort of tend to make resolutions. I tried it a couple of years ago, didn't stick to my plans at all. So I'm going to try to be a bit more general this time than I was that time. And it's basically just try to finish stuff off this year that's been sitting around for a while, bought it, aimed to do it, and then for one reason or another haven't done it. So I've got things like my Drop Zone UCM army, just need to paint a couple of transports for that, and they're boring, so I haven't done it. Paint them up. I've got a 40mm figure, which is for a conversion piece, for a display piece. No, I just haven't really had the nerve to start, so just sort of get my teeth stuck into that really, and a few more conversions, and just end up with some finished armies at the end of it. I've still got to finish off my 10mm elf army, and that's sort of it really. So that's my resolution for the year. Just look at finishing off stuff that I've started, and whilst along that I've got at least one new project this year that I'll be working on, which will be coming up later. I've got a separate video about that because I want to do a bit of a bigger piece about it. But apart from that, yeah, that's it. So what are you guys thinking about working on? Pop it down in the quotes. I'm sure Kaiser will say that. Still in your job here, Kaiser. Front man, anchor man. Have a good one. See you next video.
So finally from me, I suppose, hinted at a little bit during the course of this, the big progress for the channel in 2021 is going to be to finish the things that we've started, which include the board, which some of you have seen a video about, for example. We're going to be making some lay-on scenery for that, but with the flock that fits with it, so hopefully it blends together well. I'm going to start with scenery where games require bespoke scenery. So for example, in tanks, you have to have very specific forest sizes, but also Song of Ice and Fire, which we referenced in our Christmas video. Again, the terrain tiles are specific sizes, so I'm going to start with those. In terms of finishing what you started, around about this time last year, and in Salute the year before, I bought a load of Callisto American Civil War, which is really timely because it's just about ready to go now that Warlord have announced that they're going to have their own range of tiny little American Civil War miniatures. I have been putting my spare painting time for a year into getting 12 regiments of these guys ready and some cavalry. When we can meet up, we are going to get some American Civil War. We are going to be playing the Black Powder, and it may be that this will be the first and last 12 regiments I ever paint from Callisto if the Warlord plastics are good, but in the short term, that's certainly what we're going to be using. Just left to say is to wish you all a happy new year, and to genuinely from the heart thank you all for watching.
Thanks for making it to the end, guys. If you enjoy what you see here, spare a thought. Maybe like, subscribe if you haven't already. Simples. Cheers, Kaiser. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for following us. This wonderful shit bollocks.
Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser, and we looked from there to there.
Stop it.
No, it's alright, yeah.
Yeah.
Elegantly handsome and generally quite kind to people. That would be Mrs. Kaiser cackling from behind the camera. A really good example of that, from me, is these here Soviets. It was a quiet one, but it was a physical one. That cauliflower curry you gave me, mate. When you be farting on camera, even from behind the lens, people taste that.